Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into Gupta era India today,
Okay.
roughly 320 to 550 CE.
All right.
This period is often called India's Golden Age,
Mm-hmm.
and for good reason. If you remember our deep dive into the Vedas,
Yeah.
you know that ancient India had this deep tradition of philosophical inquiry.
Right.
Well, this is where those ideas really explode onto the scene.
I like that.
It's a time of intense debates,
Yeah.
brilliant thinkers, and scholarship that would shape Indian thought for centuries to come.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, to understand the Gupta era.
Yeah.
It's helpful to think of it as like a bustling marketplace of ideas.
Mhm.
You have this backdrop of relative peace and prosperity,
Right.
which always helps when it comes to deep thinking.
Of course. Yeah.
But you also have this convergence of different schools of thought.
Okay.
Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism,
Mm-hmm.
and even materialists and skeptics all arguing it out.
Okay, a marketplace of ideas. I love that image. But before we get lost in the stalls, can you give us a little historical context?
Sure.
We talked about the Mahajanapadas before,
Right.
those early kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have any influence on this Gupta Golden Age?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Mahajanapadas were essential
Yeah.
because they figured out how to create stable, larger kingdoms,
Right.
a feat that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah, I bet.
And the Guptas built on that foundation.
Hmm.
Think about it.
Yeah,
It's hard to ponder the nature of reality when you're constantly fending off invaders.
that's true.
The Gupta era's relative peace
Yeah.
allowed them to really dive deep
Okay,
into these philosophical questions.
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
A stable society gives you the breathing room to ask, what's it all about?
Exactly.
So let's wander through this marketplace.
Okay.
What were the major philosophical schools at play here?
Well, you have Hinduism,
Okay.
which was really flourishing and expanding on those Vedic ideas we talked about before. Thinkers were grappling with concepts like Brahman. That's
Mhm.
the ultimate reality, the ground of all being,
I see.
and Atman,
Okay,
which is essentially the idea of an individual soul or self.
got it.
Then you have the concept of Dharma,
Dharma.
duty, ethics, living a righteous life,
Right.
which was incredibly important in guiding both individual behavior
Okay.
and even how the Gupta Empire itself was governed.
This concept of Dharma is so intriguing to me.
Yeah.
It's like they saw a connection between how you live your life
Yeah,
and how society functions as a whole.
exactly.
Right.
And then, of course, there's karma,
Right.
the idea that actions have consequences, that what you do in this life echoes into the next.
Yeah.
All of these ideas from Brahman to karma
Right.
weren't just accepted blindly. They
Yeah.
were debated, refined, and applied to the challenges of the Gupta age.
So Hinduism was a major player.
It was.
What about other philosophies?
Well, Buddhism was also thriving at this time, but with its own internal debates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you had different schools interpreting the Buddhist teachings in various ways,
Uh-huh.
leading to rich discussions on topics like enlightenment,
Okay.
suffering, and the nature of consciousness.
Wow.
And then there's Jainism,
Yeah.
with its strong emphasis on nonviolence and self-discipline as paths to liberation.
Right.
But remember, this was a time of remarkable intellectual diversity.
Okay.
Alongside these major religions, you also had materialists
Mhm.
who believed only in the physical world,
I see.
skeptics who questioned everything,
Mhm.
and logicians who were developing sophisticated systems of reasoning and argumentation.
Wow, it sounds like this marketplace was pretty crowded.
It was.
So we got all these different schools of thought,
Yeah.
but what were the big questions that were really driving these debates?
Yeah.
What were the hottest topics in the Gupta philosophical scene?
Well, they were grappling with some of the most fundamental questions
Yeah.
humanity has ever faced.
Right.
In metaphysics, they were trying to figure out the nature of reality itself.
Hmm.
Is everything ultimately spiritual, like
Yeah.
Brahman suggests, or is the material world all there is?
Right, right.
And how do we even know anything for sure?
Okay.
What are the limits of human perception and knowledge?
Those are some seriously big questions. It's amazing to think about people
Yeah,
wrestling with these ideas centuries ago.
it is.
It makes you realize that the human search for meaning is a timeless endeavor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And their inquiries didn't stop at metaphysics.
Okay.
They were also deeply concerned with ethics.
Ethics. Okay.
What's the right way to live? What are our moral obligations to ourselves and to others?
Right.
How does karma play into all of this?
Mhm.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They connected these ethical questions to the actual governance of the Gupta Empire.
Hmm.
They debated how leaders should act. what a just society looks like, and how philosophical principles could guide the creation of a more harmonious social order.
It's fascinating how they saw this link between personal ethics
Right.
and the functioning of society.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about abstract philosophical ideas floating in the air.
Exactly.
They were trying to ground them in the real world.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of the self,
Okay.
the nature of Atman.
Atman, right?
They debated whether the soul is eternal,
Uh-huh.
what happens after death,
Yeah.
and how the individual self relates to that ultimate reality, that
Huh.
Brahman we talked about earlier.
Right.
Is it like a drop of water merging back into the ocean,
Mm.
or something else entirely?
Wow.
These debates had profound implications for how people understood their place in the universe,
Yeah.
the purpose of life, and their relationship to the divine.
It's incredible how these questions,
It is.
these debates from the Gupta era are still relevant today. I mean, we're
Yeah.
still trying to figure out these same things.
We are. And exploring how the Guptas approached these questions can give us valuable insights even in our modern world.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't all just philosophical debates and abstract ideas.
Right.
The Gupta era also produced some incredible scholarship.
Okay.
Thinkers were writing philosophical treatises,
Yeah.
refining the ideas of earlier eras,
Right.
and pushing the boundaries of logic and what we call epistemology,
The
the
epistemology.
study of knowledge itself.
Hold on. For those of us who aren't philosophy experts,
Yeah.
could you break down what epistemology means?
Of course.
Mm.
It's basically the study of how we know what we know.
Okay.
What are the sources of knowledge? How do we distinguish between true beliefs and false ones?
I see.
These are questions that epistemologists grapple with,
Mhm.
and the Guptas made significant contributions to this field,
Okay.
developing complex systems of reasoning and argumentation that had a lasting impact,
Okay.
not just on philosophy, but on other fields like mathematics and astronomy.
So they weren't just talking about abstract ideas.
Yeah.
They were developing rigorous ways to think about knowledge itself.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
it is.
But did this intellectual energy have any impact outside the realm of philosophy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's like this intellectual ferment spilled over
Mm.
into every aspect of Gupta society.
Mm.
We see it in the flourishing of art,
Okay.
literature, and even science.
Wow.
This was a time when magnificent temples and sculptures were being created, like
Huh.
the breathtaking Ajanta caves,
The Ajanta caves.
with their intricate murals and sculptures depicting scenes from Buddhist mythology.
I see.
It was also a golden age for literature,
Right.
with poets and playwrights like Kalidasa capturing the imagination with their works.
Tell me more about Kalidasa.
Sure.
What makes his work so special?
Kalidasa is considered one of the greatest poets and dramatists in Indian history.
Hmm.
His works,
Okay.
like the play Shakuntala, are known for their beautiful language, intricate plots, and profound insights into human nature.
Okay.
Imagine a play
Yeah.
that seamlessly blends romance, drama, and philosophy,
Wow.
with characters grappling with love, duty, and destiny,
Hmm.
all set against a backdrop of vibrant landscapes and mythical realms.
Okay.
That's Kalidasa.
That sounds incredible.
It is.
It's like Shakespeare, but with an ancient Indian twist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his works have resonated across centuries,
Mm.
influencing countless artists, writers, and thinkers.
I see.
And beyond literature and the arts,
Right.
the sciences also thrived during the Gupta era.
Okay.
They made significant advancements in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine.
Wow.
It was a time of incredible creativity and innovation,
Yeah.
fueled by this spirit of inquiry and a deep desire to understand the world around them.
It's amazing to think about how this intellectual energy
It is.
permeated so many different areas of Gupta society.
Yeah.
It truly was a golden age.
It was.
Yeah.
And while no society is perfect,
Right.
the Guptas created a remarkably fertile ground for intellectual and cultural growth.
Yeah.
They were skilled rulers,
Yeah.
adept at military strategy and administration,
Yeah.
but they also understood the importance of fostering a climate of intellectual openness and exchange.
That's cool.
They weren't afraid of debate or dissenting opinions.
That's pretty remarkable, especially for rulers of that time.
It is.
Do we know how this played out in their leadership style?
Hmm?
Was this focus on dharma,
Right.
on righteous leadership, a common practice?
Okay.
or more of an ideal they aspired to?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While no ruler can perfectly embody an ideal,
Right.
the Guptas often framed their leadership in terms of upholding dharma.
I see.
They saw themselves as responsible for the well-being of their subjects
Uh-huh.
and for maintaining a just and harmonious society.
Yeah.
This wasn't just lip service.
Yeah.
It had a real impact on how they governed.
How so?
They drew upon these philosophical principles to shape their laws, policies, and even their personal conduct as rulers.
So they were trying to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this model of leadership,
Okay.
the ruler as a benevolent protector,
Uh-huh.
a guardian of dharma,
Right.
became a powerful ideal in Indian political thought, influencing generations of rulers to come.
It's like they set a new standard for what leadership could look like.
They did.
Wow.
And it's a reminder that even in ancient times,
Yeah.
leaders grappled with the ethical dimensions of power
Right.
and the responsibility that comes with it.
Okay.
But of course, no golden age lasts forever.
Right. So what led to the decline of the Gupta Empire?
Well, a combination of factors.
Like what?
Internal pressures,
Uh-huh.
economic challenges, and external threats all played a role.
Okay.
Invasions by the Hunas,
Yifuna.
a nomadic group from Central Asia, weakened the empire significantly.
I see.
By the 6th century CE,
Right.
the Gupta Empire had fragmented and ultimately collapsed.
That's always a bit sad seeing these great civilizations fall.
It is.
But even though their empire crumbled, did their legacy endure?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Guptas left an indelible mark on Indian history and culture. Their contributions to philosophy, science, art, and literature continued to inspire and influence generations to come.
Wow.
Think of it like a seed planted
Okay.
that continued to grow and blossom long after the original tree had fallen.
It's amazing to think about how much impact one era can have,
It is.
even centuries later.
Yeah.
You know, as we've been talking about all these philosophical debates.
Right.
And the Guptas' focus on Dharma,
Mm-hmm.
it's made me wonder
Yeah.
how those ideas might resonate with us today.
Mm.
What do you think those Gupta philosophers would make of our modern world?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
I think they'd be both amazed and perhaps a little concerned by what they'd see.
Really?
Yeah, on the one hand, our technological advancements would probably blow their minds.
That's it.
But on the other hand, they might question whether we've truly progressed in terms of wisdom and ethical living. They might look at our social divisions, our environmental challenges, our constant pursuit of material wealth,
Right.
and ask, have you really learned the lessons of Dharma?
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
They might remind us that true progress isn't just about technological innovation.
Right.
It's about cultivating compassion, wisdom, and a harmonious relationship with each other and the world around us.
Exactly. I think that's one of the most valuable takeaways
Yeah.
from exploring the Gupta era. It's a reminder that these big questions about the nature of reality, the purpose of life,
Yeah.
and how to live ethically, they're not just ancient riddles. They're timeless challenges that each generation has to grapple with.
That's true.
And the Guptas, with their vibrant intellectual culture and their focus on Dharma, offers a fascinating perspective on how one civilization sought to address those challenges.
I'm so glad we took this deep dive into the Gupta era.
Me too.
It's given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
For our listeners who are feeling just as inspired,
Okay.
are there any books, articles, or resources you'd recommend for exploring these ideas further?
Absolutely. If you want to delve deeper into Gupta philosophy,
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking out the works of some key thinkers from that era.
Like who?
For example, Vasubandhu
Subandhu.
was a Buddhist philosopher who wrote extensively on consciousness and perception. Very relevant to today's discussions about mindfulness and the nature of the mind.
Interesting.
And then there's Ishvara Krishna,
Ishvara Krishna. Okay.
who systematized the Samkhya school of thought,
Uh-huh.
which explores the relationship between matter and consciousness,
Right.
something modern physics is still grappling with.
I see.
Yeah,
And of course, we can't forget Kalidasa.
right. Reading his plays and poetry is like taking a direct flight back to the Gupta era.
Wow.
Shakuntala is a great place to start.
Okay.
And if you're looking for a more visual journey,
Yeah.
I can't recommend the Ajanta Caves enough.
Right.
Seeing those incredible murals and sculptures firsthand
Yeah.
is a truly awe-inspiring experience.
Well, I think I know where my next vacation is headed.
Sounds good.
Okay. Deep divers. That brings us to the end of our exploration of philosophical debates and intellectual discourse in the Gupta era. It's been a fascinating journey, and we hope it sparked your curiosity to learn even more. Remember, the pursuit of wisdom is a lifelong adventure. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper into the rich tapestry of human thought. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.